So I'm delighted to be able to invite Christian Pohl from Crimson to come up and take us through what they've found.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you hear me all right. My name is Christian Pohl. I'm principal with Crimson & Co. We are end-to-end supply chain company. So we are looking across industries and advising our clients how to improve their performance, productivity, and to just work a little bit smarter. My background? I initially started my career as logistics and supply chain expert within the 3PL industry. So I was working with the likes of Kühne-Nagel, DHL, and my key touch point with the oil and gas industry was 6 months of quality time spent in Angola with Schlumberger to support the setup of their logistics and supply chain operations down there for the Passflow project. As mentioned by Steve, Crimson & Co. worked together with the OGTC to have a look across different industries in terms of what kind of collaborations we see in the logistics area. And I'm happy to present you the key outcomes of that little research. First and foremost, collaboration. Collaboration happens in all shapes and forms. Collaboration is defined more or less as different companies come together, either vertically or horizontally within the supply chain to work together to improve efficiency and productivity. Two key types of collaboration are vertical and horizontal. Vertical collaboration exists between the supplier and the customer. We've seen in our research that often comes with a key issue, and the issue is information. We have often seen that there's a stronger partner within that relationship, which is quite often the customer, especially the retail industry, the likes of Tesco and so on, use then the information they receive from their suppliers in negotiations to reduce cost. But we've seen other great examples today where, for example, the Michelin example given by John, where this collaboration actually works quite well. So if it's not a critical information for the car manufacturer, it has huge benefits throughout the whole supply chain. And then we have horizontal collaboration where different companies who are normally competitors come together to see whether through consolidation of volumes, for example, sharing facilities and assets to drive down costs with the same service levels or even improved service levels. In the next few pages, first and foremost, have a quick look at what are the key pain points right now here in the Aberdeen area, and then move towards a look at how other basins operate. And there's an example from Norway with BP and Talisman. And then have a closer look into different industries. And I'll give you examples from DHL, how they're operating the drinks industry. We have a look at NHS and the French retailer example. So together with the OGTC and Warwick University, we looked at a lot of data. And there are a few themes that come out of that analysis, that there is a low vessel utilization. So if everyone operates their own vessels for their own platforms, it quite often is the case that the vessel visits only one platform, 65%, and 85% of the vessel journeys are just supplied one operator. We have low time utilization, so 60% of non-productive time, so it's non-productive time. It's kind of strange. And low capacity utilization, meaning that vessels sail with a lot of spare capacity. We have unnecessary work, so there's the issue of prioritization at the platform, so you've got limited availability and capacity, space capacity on the platforms for unloading, and then you've got double journeys, so cargo going from onshore to the platform, no space, coming back, another journey, which is quite frankly inefficient. And then we've got the knock-on impact on land logistics. So we see a high stock levels, excessive stock levels, and poor resource utilization. So not enough sharing of warehouses and so on. So the OGTC logistics working group operators more or less operate in silo. So each and every one is taking care of their own platforms and their own supply chain, warehouse, make the vessel scheduling. The example I want to give how it could be done differently is the example of BP and Talisman. So BP sold their stake in the Gida oil field to Talisman, and Talisman didn't have any other platforms in that area. So they were facing the challenge that they would have to set up their complete own supply chain and logistics to support that platform. As part of the deal, they decided to create a joint logistics center. So keeping all the volume together and operating it as a joint logistics center, so from warehousing to vessel scheduling, all the way to the returns. And they decided to outsource the day-to-day running to a company called ESCO, who were operating that logistics center, and with quite a good success, so that they were able to actually opening it up and seeking additional platforms to come onto that logistics center to even increase the volume and then drive down cost and increase efficiency. And just as a scale, so they are dealing with 80 million logistics costs per year, 130,000 tons. So it's quite sizable. Having a look at other industries. So the two examples on this page is around the drinks industry, where Brewery and DHL came together in the 90s to form a joint venture to create the industry-leading platform for the drinks industry. So supplying to restaurants and bars and hotels all their needs towards drinks. The challenge there was that they couldn't really scale it up. Bass Brewery was still demanding to keep their own operating model, so other companies had to adjust if they wanted to join that platform, which was not very successful. Only at the time when DHL took full control of trade team, it really expanded and became much larger to the position where they are today, potentially the leading on-trade drinks industry platform. Another example is NHS supply chain with a kindly different trigger. So the government realized that it's not really efficient if each and every NHS trust is purchasing all the material and goods in isolation. So they created the NHS Purchase and Supply Agency back in the day, which was then subsequently outsourced to DHL. The challenge there was that over the last few years, there was a little underlying feeling that DHL was taking excessive money out of the whole operations, because there was poor visibility of the underlying price structure and the underlying prices that DHL was able to get from the supply base. So DHL is still taking care of the whole purchasing operation. So they're offering a ordering platform, simple one-stop shop for the NHS trust who are participating, taking care of the ordering, warehousing, and then delivery to the individual trusts. And a different trigger could come from your supplier. So an example here is a French retailer who requested from their supply base that only full truckloads will be accepted for delivery. And a lot of suppliers who don't have the volume to operate that efficiently came together and said, well, how can we solve this new service level requirement from our customer jointly? And what can be done to work effectively together to reduce our cost base while still maintaining the relationship with the customer? So they created a joint venture where they are delivering into individual warehouses where you have cross-docking facilities to create full truckloads which are going out to the different outlets. So you have an improved vehicle utilization and planning and load consolidation, which in effect, their customer requested something from them, but they ended up saving 31% on their cost base. So what kind of collaborations could we see in the logistics area within the OGTC and the Aberdeen area? So the lowest level with the least collaboration required is basically you do your normal scheduling and then you realize you've got a little bit of spare capacity available on your vessels, which you then offer to your competitors. Competitors better off because they have additional capacity they can fill, plus most probably to a very low price. Plus you get a little bit of additional revenue. This goes all the way up. So you've got spot deck sharing, you've got vessel splitting, vessel sharing where you jointly operate a vessel. Then we quickly move into areas where much more collaboration is required, especially in terms of forecasting, planning, demand. So a lot of information comes into play in that area. All the way up to full collaboration where we could also see that you use common parts and standards. This has been a common theme yesterday that a lot of companies wouldn't be even able to agree on the same kind of water they want to have on the different platforms, let alone individual spare parts and standardization there. So I think there's a long way to go to realize a full collaboration, but there are certain individual steps towards it to make it happen. And specifically, we are here in the OGTC, so there's a technology, digital element to it. I think that will come fully into play into areas where much more information is required, which you then get from the individual parties and run a smart algorithm to improve your planning and efficiency out of it. A few things to consider. So there are different industries where it works quite well, where there are some challenges to overcome. When you think about collaboration and setting up a collaboration, there are a few things that you should address. And these circle mainly around risk, transparency, and competitive advantage. So we've seen, going back to the different examples, that it worked quite well when you have an independent party somewhere in the middle who's operating somehow as a mediator between different competitors. We've seen it quite well where the information sharing is not with information that is providing your own company with a competitive advantage or is critical within your business operations, where it's non-critical information being shared. And simply the risk element, it's an industry where service failure is dramatic. So there's a high cost associated with something not being delivered. And there's a non-productive time associated with it and a lot of cost. So you need to address that issue between the different parties and find an agreement which is acceptable to all participants. So bringing it together and summing it up, collaboration does exist. And it does exist quite effectively to the benefit of all participating parties. The most effective one we've seen is generally between competitors, where you are able not only to come together and share some information and share a vessel here and there, but where you actually bring together volumes on a large scale to drive up asset utilization, improve your volumes in terms of procurement. The main drivers for collaboration is generally cost, normally involving either working jointly to reduce the cost of stringent service levels or same service levels, or being just more effective and utilizing your own assets in a more efficient way. Key elements from our analysis and research of the different industries and talking to different experts, is that quite effective is the use of the independent body in the middle, which can be a 3PL or a joint venture creation. A strong safeguards in place to prevent the sharing of commercial, sensible and sensitive information, which can be clean room kind of setups, or just the use of an external party who's protecting the interest of the individual team members. And then all participants must be treated equally. That doesn't mean that everyone gets the same percentage of savings and profits and shares out of it. It means that everyone needs to feel that they get a benefit out of it, which is in relation to what they put into the collaboration. And then process standardization. It does mean that a lot of industries operated and created their current operating model and processes to meet their own needs right now. So you've got different standards and formats in terms of not only products, but also in terms of how the data is shared within your company, what kind of formats you're using, what kind of technology you're using. And that, to come together for an effective collaboration, needs, with these touch points, needs to be aligned so that everyone is able to participate. As a starting point, we see that there is an opportunity for collaboration, and especially within some first baby steps and creating the business case to have a strong argument towards the senior management to make the real commitment towards greater collaboration and then moving forward to the whole new digital world. That's from my side. I think we're going to the panel discussion, right?